Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon where you live around the world. Just a bit of an update. There's nothing much in this video, but I'm just adding it for more to do with thoroughness and a little bit of a confession or reveal that I have said there needs to be a high degree of accuracy in our models so that we can rely on them. Because when we start to do complex copy and paste, move, rotation, etc., and adulterating it somehow, we've got to have confidence that what we're moving and using is accurate. Okay, and then I was talking about process, how process is so important, and I was making all sorts of highfalutin claims about my prowess for the process, and then you get dished up some reality and you realize you're not as clever as you think, David. I should listen to other people when they say that. Anyway, what it was that I would make a batten, which in this case, in fact I've done it with other stuff, but in this case a batten which I can then shorten the work process or work needed, and I can just rotate it round into this position here, which I did for these three struts, just as I did for these two struts. Yay! Now, these two struts can be rotated. These two can't. Not easily, at least. Well, they can, but they'll be wrong. Why? It's so obvious when you think about it. The angles aren't the same on both sides. So that when I rotate the batten around, the angles are different. You won't know it because the angles are so similar that it takes someone that's obsessive, I've got my hands up, to find that issue. Worse, I did the same for the dihedral angles. I just don't know why, but I rotated them round so that these numbers were on the opposite side. Now, wouldn't you think that would become very obvious by looking at it now? Well, yeah, but when you start to have angles like this that aren't terribly different, again the same issue, but aren't next to each other, you can't see them easily because that one there, this two here, these two over here, sometimes you don't pick up those little errors. So because I'd reversed these two where they shouldn't be, and I spun round the strut, they kind of would look the same when I tested it. Now, why am I making a video about that? Well, I made a comment in a previous video, as I often do, that I've changed my current use of the precision function for the units. And if I show you what I mean, you'll see how really silly that it is, but what it can reveal. I'm going to measure that point there, that length of that line, which is 12,956. Look down, 12,956. They are identical, correct, isn't it? Because that was 12.956 of a millimeter. We're working in thousandths of millimeters. Why? Because if you don't, the software will give you an about. So that was 12.956. This one here is 12.6. So there is a tiny little difference of about 1/3 of a millimeter. Not much, but if I don't have the precision dialed up and I go to do that, I'll see it's about 13 millimeters, and it's about 13 millimeters. I'll be none the wiser because of that little approximation indicator at the beginning of the number. But with it dialed up, it sticks out like the proverbial, and you can measure, or at least realize there's a difference if you measure it in that manner. It's worse in something like this, where the angles are very flat, annoyingly flat, between the two sides, the two triangles, and therefore the distance here is also incrementally, or as a function, closer together. And you will not pick it up unless you have a process in place to check. Because I thought my process was so robust that I couldn't make a mistake, and therefore I could confidently create these patterns and not have a problem. But I'd in-bait a movement, sorry for the phone, it's almost Drinky's time on a Friday afternoon, so that's someone telling me to put down the computer mouse and head over to his place. Anyway, I hope he is. The process itself was flawed because the process was perfect. My use of it was flawed, and therefore I made the error, and it was only just picked up, which could have gone unforeseen. I'm going to make the assumption there's something else that has been missed in this model. Now, again, the obsessive person, hands up, me, doesn't mind actually redrawing a lot of this, however, not from scratch. I can backtrack, I can investigate, I can do the Sherlock Holmes type thing by knowing where the errors lie, and it will be post this area here, the honeycomb. And by knowing that the honeycomb itself is perfect, I don't have to do so much. How do I know it's perfect? Well, it's perfect in the sense that if I take, this is a common point for everything, I can come up to any one of these points, and I'm checking that bottom right hand corner to the 1/1000th of a millimeter. Those measurements are correct. So therefore I can proceed from here and go forward to get to this stage. Again, process can sometimes save you, so long as you are applying it properly and you catch your own idiocracy, or just your complacency, I think it was, and you can correct for it. I also dragged and dropped some of these discs, and I can tell you I've done that many times, and I get it to the thousandths of a millimeter accuracy, and this time I caught myself and they were wrong. Still don't know why. So I've had to backtrack and correct for that, and that was easy ish. I deleted all these discs, ones I've just highlighted. I deleted them and then drew them in from another drawing, which was off to the right here, which I've now deleted, and I dragged them across exactly the amount that they should be, and they lined up. So obviously it was a keyboard or be a mouse action error. Not picked up, work done. Frustration. So with that meandering old 9 and so minutes, process is good if you are sharp enough to follow it properly. Part of the process might be check as you go through so that you can catch those errors. Me, I was complacent, thought I'd done it right. Why would I want to check it? So that's part of the issue, I suppose. Anyway, I have, I think, corrected everything, and I can proceed. The next thing I'm going to be looking at, or may have to look at, is just how am I going to hold the dome down. Now my version of the dome gets held down very easily in relative terms because I'll have an infill piece in here, but I'm designing it so it can be freestanding on only the 4 corners. So this needs to be beefed up, and that's what I'll be concentrating on. Rightio, with that I bid you a goodbye and I will see you in the next video. Okay, bye now.